She emptied her clay pot, 53,700 naira, her entire life savings, and gave it all to him. Amaka and Kelechi stepped into the house that evening, exhausted from everything the day had thrown at them. But the moment they entered, they knew something was wrong. The roof had been torn open by the wind. Rainwater was already finding its way into the house. It dripped steadily onto Mama Ngozi's bed, onto her framed photograph. Kelechi rushed around the house, grabbing anything that could hold water. Buckets, pots, anything. He moved from one leak to another, desperately trying to control the water, but the rain kept coming. Amaka pulled out old rags from anywhere she could find them, hoping to slow the water. Then her eyes fell on Mama Ngozi's belongings. She watched the water crawling across the floor toward them. She stopped, took a deep breath, and prayed silently. "Please, don't let the water spoil Mama's things." But the rain showed no mercy. Neither did they. All night they walked without rest. Fill a bucket, empty it, move to the next leak, empty it again. No break. Just two children fighting to keep the only home they had from falling apart. By midnight, the rain outside had weakened, but inside the house, water still dripped. Tuk, 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 like a clock quietly counting the passing hours. Eventually, they sank onto the floor, soaked, exhausted, silent. Finally, sleep came. The next morning, Kelechi was already on the roof, using whatever materials he could find to patch the roof. Later that afternoon, Amaka walked into Mama Ngozi's room and reached for the small clay pot she had hidden for years. She emptied it, then counted the money inside. 53,700 naira. Every naira she had managed to save. She walked outside and held it out to Kelechi. "Take it. Use it for your school fees." Kelechi stared at the money, then slowly shook his head. "No, you need it too." A faint smile crossed Amaka's face. She had already made her decision. "I need you to finish school. Mama wouldn't want both of us to stop halfway." Kelechi looked at the money again, then at his sister. He still couldn't bring himself to take it. But from that moment, everything changed. From that day on, life became a daily fight to survive. Kelechi remained in school, but after school, he worked too. He cleared bushes, worked on farms, carried heavy loads, anything that could bring money home. Most evenings, he returned home tired. His clothes were covered in dust. His hands ached from working all day. Some days, he came home with just enough money to meet their daily needs. Other days, he came home with nothing. But he never gave up. He never dropped out of school. Amaka carried everything else. Every morning, she was already on her way to the market. She bought goods, sold them from morning till evening, walked long distances just to save transport fare. In front of their house, she also kept a small table where she sold vegetables and food from their farm. People often called her a strong woman. They saw her smile during the day, but many nights she cried herself to sleep. Sometimes she simply sat quietly, looking into the darkness, wondering how much longer they could survive the hardship. When morning came, she got up and started again. Together they planted on Mama Ngozi's land cassava, yam, maize. They worked hard every day, hoping the harvest would be enough to keep them going. Those crops became their major means of survival. A year later, Chinedu returned. 1 year had changed many things, but it hadn't changed Chinedu. He didn't return home like a son coming back to his family. He returned like a man coming to claim what belonged to him. He stepped out of a brand new luxury SUV, not the one he had driven away with after finding the treasure. This one was newer, more expensive. Everything about him spoke of wealth. His clothes, his watch, even the confidence in his work. He called Amaka and Kelechi. He didn't ask how they were. He got straight to the point. My laborers will be here tomorrow to fence the big land. He looked around proudly before adding, I'm building a modern house there and I'll be getting married soon. A smile spread across his face. Amaka and Kelechi exchanged glances. Married? Before either of them could speak, Chinedu's face became serious. Kelechi spoke first. Our crops aren't ready yet. We need another 6 months before harvest. Amaka remained silent. Before Mama Ngozi died, she made it clear that the big land belonged to Chinedu, while the small one belonged to Kelechi. But Amaka never imagined her own brother would take away the little they had left to survive after becoming so wealthy from the treasure. She looked at him quietly. Could this really be the same Chinedu who protected them when they were children? The man standing before her felt like a stranger, cold, proud, heartless. Chinedu sighed. Fine. Tell me how much the crops are worth. I'll compensate you. He walked back to his SUV and returned with two neat bundles of cash. He dropped them on the table. That should do. Without waiting for a reply, he got into his SUV and drove away. Amaka looked at the money, not with gratitude, but with sadness. Kelechi buried his face in his hands. They had placed all their hope on those crops. The smaller piece of land had never been fertile. That night, sleep refused to come. Kelechi stayed awake, thinking, if Chinedu had made up his mind, nothing would stop him from taking the land. Amaka walked into the sitting room. She sat beside him, then spoke softly. Easy, Kelechi. When one door closes, another one has to open. Kelechi looked at her. She seemed strangely calm. Maybe life had broken her so many times that nothing surprised her anymore. He wanted to believe she was right, but if another door was going to open, neither of them knew where to find it. The next morning, they made a decision. They would stop depending on the big land. They would concentrate on what remained, the small piece of land, rocky, dry. Some of the villagers laughed when they saw it. Nothing good had ever come out of that soil. But it belonged to them, and for now, that was enough. Together, they cleared the bushes, removed the stones. Then they chose to plant cashew seedlings, not because they knew they would succeed, but because they had tried almost everything else on that land, but nothing had worked. Months passed, then years followed. Slowly, the trees began to grow. Sometimes they wondered if all their hard work would be wasted. Still, they kept going, watering, weeding, pruning, waiting. Life continued just as it always had. Kelechi balanced school with farm work. Every free day was spent either studying or working. Amaka carried the weight of the home. She still traded in the market, still woke before sunrise, still returned home long after sunset. Some days were better than others, many were not. But together they kept moving forward. Years passed quietly. The cashew trees grew stronger with every season. One evening, Kelechi sat outside their compound. His final examinations were only weeks away. As he revised his notes, he occasionally stood up to help Amaka with the tomatoes she was selling in front of the house. Then a white jeep slowly pulled up in front of their compound. Both of them looked up. For a few seconds, nobody moved. The doors opened. One of their elderly aunties stepped out. A warm smile spread across her face. Behind her, two well-dressed men stepped out of the vehicle. Their aunt turned toward them. Amaka, Kelechi, these are Ifeanyi and Shola. They export agricultural products. She smiled, especially cashew. For a brief moment, nobody spoke because one word echoed in the minds of Amaka and Kelechi: cashew.